Welcome to the On Your Mind podcast, where we are changing the mental health narrative, bringing hope and solutions. Here's your host, Timothy J. Hayes, psychologist.
Judith Pinkerton's passion for music therapy was ignited in Alaska in 1986 when her solo violin music replaced medication post-surgery in a hospital for her husband. As a music therapy clinician and internship director, author, TEDx speaker, recording artist, online educator, and published researcher, Judith has presented at many national conferences and is the first to receive state-issued music therapy licenses in the United States. With over 30 years' experience helping individuals from womb to tomb, she has treated more than 11,000 patients in residential addiction treatment centers. She's the innovator of the evidence-based practice of the Music4Life music medicine protocol, and she has authored music therapy-informed accredited e-courses, certification trainings, and she recruits and trains specialists to support the Key to Me's approach in 2024. You can learn more at themusic4life.com. That's THE music, 4, life.com. And at judithpinkerton.com. Judith is also offering a free gift to listeners of this podcast. If you go to themusic4life.com, that's THEMUSIC, 4, life.com. /product/sleep performance pack gift and use the password GIFT, GIFT. Well, Judith, welcome. Thank you for joining us today.
Such a pleasure to spend time with you, Dr. Tim.
I'm hoping you could start us off by telling us a little bit about how you got into the work you're doing and what drives your passion for it.
It all started in the hospital several decades ago when my solo violin music replaced medication post-surgery for a loved one. And it was pretty stunning for both myself and the nurse that was attending him, where the routine high blood pressure medication was no longer needed or was not needed at all in order to bring his blood pressure into range, into normal range. So it was solo violin music that I had recorded just out of my love for him the night before. And I just picked, I wasn't a music therapist at the time, didn't really know what I was doing, but I used, my heart in saying, well, I'm going to play music he likes and music I like and put it together. And, and within 30 minutes of listening to it, his blood pressure came into normal range from being high after emergency back surgery. So that drove my passion to learn more. What I was bumping into was more metaphysical at the time, and I really wanted hardcore research that really strengthened what I was searching for. I moved to Las Vegas from Anchorage, Alaska, bumped into a music therapist and attended my first music therapy conference and cried through the whole thing because I knew this was home for me.
Excellent. And how long ago was that?
34 years now when I attended my first music therapy conference.
And all of that's led to this Music4Life and a new patent. Can you tell us about this and what you're doing with it?
Yeah, what I've learned over the decades, Dr. Tim, is so much from the clients and patients that I've worked with. And it's really developed out of my experiences with them and learning how to modulate music in such a way that it becomes a do-it-yourself program. It's especially crucial right now because there's a shortage of music therapists. There's only 10,000 of us at this time in the United States. And people are struggling in rural communities. After our grand pause of the pandemic, there's a lot of unsettledness that is still chronic, requiring medications. I mean, it's exorbitant. It's resulting in negative behaviors, increased shooting incidences, violence, and so on. And imagine being able to create a prescriptive playlist that creates a cathartic experience where chronic unsettledness in emotions expressed as anger, anxiety, depression, or sadness can be mitigated through a prescriptive playlist that we call the music medicine pill. So you see the pill to my right, to your left, and imagine understanding how your listening habits may keep you in a toxic situation, or take you out of that toxicity. So it's an assessment of what are your music listening habits that we have been able to create through a curriculum, and to really dive deep into becoming more emotionally aware of what is it that I'm feeling, and am I misinterpreting it? Am I thinking that I'm excited all the time when I'm actually anxious, or that I'm energized all the time when I'm actually angry, or that I'm just calm, leave me alone all the time and I'm actually depressed? And then noticing how our music habits may keep us stuck in those moods because we tend to listen to music that matches where we're at. It's what I feel like listening to right now. And unbeknownst to us, it could become actually toxic. So the music medicine protocol goes much deeper than other recommendations that people have out there about what you should be listening to when you're sad or when you're angry and so on. This is more of a medical protocol in addressing long-term benefits as a result of listening to music in an empowering way.
I liked how we talked earlier, and you were saying something about, I use the phrase pressure cooker. I think you talked about the steam kettle. And so if I'm feeling angry or down, and I have a music that resonates with that mood, loud and aggressive and whatever, and I listen to it and I feel a little bit better, what you're talking about is that all that's happening there is I'm just relieving a little stress, but I haven't changed what's in the pot or how hot the heat is, and I'm not changing anything fundamental about the process. And you've discovered with these three categories how to help people move from one to the other into a productive, energized state.
A typical listening habit is someone saying, well, I'm feeling this unsettled mood. I don't want to feel that. So therefore, I'm going to play music that's going to target the mood that I want to feel. That is only a temporary solution in mitigating that unsettled mood. So what is crazy that people are like, what? You actually want me to listen to music that's going to make me really feel the unsettled mood that I don't want to feel? It's like, yes, there's a certain exposure. And so we know about exposure therapy and how valuable that can be. The challenge with applying music under that theory of exposure therapy is the time, is the duration element, and the depth of the emotion that the music can trigger, because you don't want to get actually worse. You just want to satiate and validate that emotion before moving on to neutralize what you just stirred up with that music. So the mood sequence formula is invaluable in creating what we call the music medicine pill. And the mood sequence formula addresses the broad continuum of emotions so that you start off with where you're at and validate that. And then the sequencing using the entrainment mechanism is crucial in, first of all, sequencing the moods appropriately, selecting the right music that actually evokes those pure qualities of moods, and then having it possibly edited, because sometimes the music doesn't segue to the best that it should. So sometimes a music therapist has to be involved to edit music so that it follows that continuum easily, where you're not, it's like being on a train, and sometimes you might feel like that train is going 90 miles an hour and you're just trying to hold on, especially if you're in an anxiety piece, right? And to be able to hold on and continue listening to that prescriptive playlist that goes through all of these emotions going from unsettled to soothed to energized, and that kind of sequencing. That's our generic mood sequence formula, is unsettled to soothed to energized. When you do that, you're training your emotions to shift. When you do this specialized playlist called a music medicine pill daily for 2 weeks, you are training your emotions to stop and start. And it's amazing the effects of that on mood balance when you're able to successfully control your moods, even without listening to the playlist, because clients report back that they'll feel this particular unsettled mood that was related to their music medicine pill, and the music automatically starts playing in their head because they've been conditioned. And we know the music's going to stop, and amazingly, the mood stops and shifts into something else, more productive. And truly, it's this interesting satiation that goes on where it's not repressing, it's actually igniting, allowing repressed emotions to be fully expressed.
Which is a real good thing, right? So if you can start to look at those energies as those emotions as just energies with information, then I don't deny and suppress them. I access them and I utilize them.
Mm-hmm.
And you're talking about then basically transmuting them into a different level of energy. Now, you mentioned that the unsettled to soothed to energized is the generic pill that hints at that there's a non-generic formula
When a music therapist
or an individualized, yeah.
When a music therapist gets involved with the creation of it, we start looking at thematic music that will play into it. We start looking at possible sleep disorder challenges, which will modify the formula. So depending on the goals that are agreed upon, and I say agreed upon because the client could be saying, oh, I want to get out of my marriage, or I want to change a job, or I want to move to a different place. Well, that's not the purpose of the music medicine pill. We're looking at mood balance. And so saying, I want to be able to control my moods. I want to feel less anxious. I want to feel less depressed. I want to manage my anger. Those kinds of goals we look for in feeling better. And the outcome also can be improved relationships or making life decisions from a more balanced approach rather than, oh, I have to do this because I don't have enough money, or, she just screamed at me, or whatever. It's a more balanced approach of what is my long-term goal here in making best decisions in order to continue my best life. That's what it supports.
Excellent. And you mentioned something about listening. I don't know if you said how many times a day, but listening daily for 2 weeks.
I've had a variety of different listening regimens with clients. When I've been in treatment facilities and a customized approach has been ordered for a client, they may listen. I have a phenomenal story about one client that listened to it. I don't know how many times. He was listening to it a lot within 10 days. And it was amazing, his story and how he shifted completely to be noticed by by peers as well as his therapists. So typically it's daily, one time daily.
One time a day. And then what is the duration of this listening session?
It can be, well, if it's a customized, it's usually 30 to anywhere between 30 to 60 minutes long every day. That's a customized approach. We have generic playlists that have been utilized that are only 15 minutes to 20 minutes long. I say the customized approach is longer because we have more mood problems that have to be addressed. So people may say, I have got problems with anxiety, anger, depression, and sadness. So then we have to find music that will address those four moods. And in a balanced music diet, you have to have equal time in each mood category of unsettled music, soothed music, and energized music. So then we have to find appropriate music that will balance out and help neutralize the effects of the unsettledness by creating the soothing music that will do that, and then moving into the energizing music. And it's also, Dr. Tim, about kind of peeling that layer away. You may not know that there is an issue until the first issue is addressed. Right. And then the second issue pops up, right? So there was one client, I'll never forget, we had chosen Native American flute music as so soothing for her soothing section. And I'd have to go into her playlist, but I think she had maybe, between 12 and 15 pieces of music throughout her whole playlist. And so in the soothing section, that would have meant there were probably 3 or 4 pieces of music, including the soothing Native American flute music. Well, she gets into listening to it. She comes back within a week to do an interim check, and discovered that this flute music was igniting anger for her. It was not putting her into that soothed place. And what we discovered, the reason for that was she was going through a divorce. She worked at a casino with Native American music playing, including that flute music. And at the same location, she worked with her husband, whom she was going through a divorce.
Right.
And the mistress also worked there.
Well, that'll light a fire under you.
So the Native American music actually brought up then her work environment and how upsetting all of this was. So we changed it out very quickly. Took it out and put something else in there that would continue her feeling that soothed feeling. But see, it gets very complicated as you start mitigating these layers of experiences and emotions and music preferences.
So you have a patent, and what's the goal, this kind of your dream for what's going to happen now that you have the patent?
Imagine being able to open up your key to me, Key, the number 2, MEE, and MEE stands for music exercising emotions, which becomes your personal journey or a me experience. So key to me will allow the user to insert personal information to be able to start exploring how to create their specialized playlists, being able to offer music that they think should go on there, having a specialist that's on hand through the app to be able to say yay or nay on that particular music that you would like to have go into your music medicine pill, and be able to access all the music from, a couple dozen different genres that we are recommending that have been used successfully. And we love the music industry because they continue to produce more music for us to consider. So there's always something new to be considered. So then the end result is to be able to create this prescriptive playlist called a music medicine pill, and be able to track on your listening regimen. And having done assessments before and then after, you can start realizing how this is affecting you. Now, if you're in a chronic unsettled comfort zone where music is actually keeping you in a toxic place, that will be uncovered. And you will be steered to educational courses and tutorials to learn more about your theme songs, what they're saying about you, what can you think or do differently, what music choices might be offered to you different than what you are thinking you want on the playlist. Because truly, if you let me give you an example. If you are in an angry unsettled comfort zone, chronic unsettled comfort zone. You may be listening to music that is keeping you stuck there. So any genre that I suggest here is a genre that I actually love and has an appropriate place in this specialized way of looking at how to use music applied as medicine. So in this case, I am not knocking metal music or heavy metal. I love it. However, you may find somebody that is stuck in only listening to heavy metal. In one of my first books that came out in the 90s, there was one particular client that was talking about how I love metal, and he would modulate when and how he would listen to metal 24/7. So when he wanted to go to sleep, he'd turn it down. When he wanted to wake up, he'd turn it up. And so he would modulate volume control, but stay within the genre itself. And there's a variety of different mood possibilities within that genre. So I'm not saying that heavy metal is only for anger, but it works really well for that. And there's other possibilities for it too, but it mainly belongs in the unsettled mood category. So if somebody is choosing to listen to that, they're not going to know that they're actually angry, possibly. They're going to just think they're energized all the time. So they're going to learn through the app then about that. What is a chronic unsettled comfort zone? What is a chronic soothed comfort zone? What is a chronic energized comfort zone? Any of those can be chronic and problematic. And so they start learning more about what that is and how to be more aware of their emotions and interpreting those emotions appropriately so that they're successful in creating a music medicine pill that will work in helping them with identified problems.
And it sounds like there's also an educational component in this, that you help people understand more about their own internal and emotional experience.
Yes.
Now,
based upon all my experiences with clients, they've taught me so much about not only how it works well, but how it doesn't work well. So, it's good to know both parts, what to steer away from and what to go to.
Is there an assessment component that you're planning for the app? I take it this app is being developed currently?
Yeah, yes, it is, as a matter of fact. And we're targeting, crossed fingers, that it is going into its beta test state by September.
And my question was, is there an assessment component in the app as well?
Yes. So you're assessing mood balance, and it self-reports. And what's interesting about the self-report is that you may unknowingly saying that you're not anxious, but that you're excited all the time. And that then your self-reports about those numbers on the Likert scale may flip. And so it's an interesting qualitative study to look at what are you really addressing and how is that reflective in the quantitative approach versus the qualitative approach. So it's an interesting assessment approach.
Step us through, if you would, or give us an overview in as much detail as you want about this article you sent me about someone you worked with who had post-traumatic stress disorder and the music medicine prescription.
Yeah. So we call her Tessa in the article published in the Music and Medicine peer-reviewed journal. This is back in 2015, and one of my practitioners, a music therapist, did this study as a result of and requirements of her practitioner training with me. So the interesting playlist had a total of 14 different songs, 13 of which followed the USE mood sequence formula.
That's the unsettled, soothed, and energized formula.
Uh-huh. So it started off with an anger piece, actually two anger pieces that she really connected to. And in the published study, it was Let's Start a War by the Exploited and Struggle Within by Metallica. And then she immediately segued into a depressing piece called Retreat and Descent by Black Aria, which then evolved quickly into a song by Stained called The Hidden Song. This was a song that was introduced to me by one of my teen girls at a girls' group home under Catholic Charities of Southern Nevada a few decades ago. Didn't know Hidden Song existed because the last track of that particular CD at the time, it was 15 minutes into the last track. So there was like silence. And then all of a sudden, this hidden song pops up.
Wow.
So truly hidden. And, it's interesting how its relationship, of course, to sadness or possible depression. Sometimes sadness and depression are hard to identify in music. It's really dependent on the listener as to whether a particular piece might be more sad or more depressing, depending on their personal experience. But in her case, this hidden song by Stained was sad. And then immediately going into a gentleman's name, an artist's name, Olafur Arnolds, did a song called Rayin. And that was very calming for her. And it had appropriate music elements in it that segued easily from Stained song. So when she listened to her playlist, it was nonstop. There is no breaks in between. Then going into a piece called The Cello Song brought up Dreaminess for her by David Arkenstone. And then it segued into Desert Song by, it was actually on a CD called Spirit. That was a lot of different kind of nature sounds, and Desert Song worked the best for her, which made her feel very content. And then it evolved into a peaceful piece that she loved by Paco Bell. Many people are aware of it, called Canon in D. And then we shifted into more energizing emotions, starting off with cheerfulness that she identified with this song by Louis Armstrong called What a Wonderful World. That evolved then into a country song by Rascal Flatts named Stand that brought optimism up for her. And then going into Joyful Feelings with Orinoco Flow by Enya. And then an interesting, really energizing song by African Rhythm Travelers that brought up playfulness for her called Kululuma. And then her last piece was really interesting title called Crazy Benny by a duo called Safri Duo. I think they're Norwegian, that really built that energy that she desired. And in a week, her social phobia of not wanting to go out and interact with anybody melted. She found herself going to a job fair after a week of daily listening to this playlist. And she even was interviewed by a TV camera newsman about her experience at this job fair. It was interesting, for her to talk about what that was like for her. So you can read this study about the whole experience of her with this music medicine pill.
And the title of the study is?
The study is called The Development of a Music Therapy Protocol, a Music4Life Case Report of a Veteran with PTSD.
And one of the things that impressed me in reviewing that article is the changes in the assessment devices that you give. You give them an assessment, and this is self-report assessment at the beginning and then some follow-ups. And there were some dramatic changes in her own internal experience of anxiety, tension, anger, sadness, etc.
Mm-hmm. And these are the same assessments that will be loaded onto the app.
Oh, all right. So you're going to get that continuity
mm-hmm.
from your past work into the app, huh?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Well, this is exciting. This is most of us in the field have known about various powerful benefits of music with people with memory issues, and how sometimes the people who've had stroke can come back in different ways if there's, if you add the music to the occupational therapy, et cetera. So this is a whole new level for me to hear about using music in this prescribed way that, moves people through the sequence of moods and helps them acknowledge the mood they're in and then move and get this experience of moving more smoothly from one mood to another.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's an interesting training that you go through when you listen to it nonstop daily for 2 weeks. We found that the 2 week marker is successful. Usually between, I've had it as short as 2 days up to 7, almost 10 days is really long, that you start experiencing all this unsettledness that's been triggered, and you actually feel worse because you're being overwhelmed with the unsettledness that is being triggered to be released. And so usually at some point, it's more likely between day 3 and 5, that you start maybe being worse in relationships. People are like, what's wrong with you? You're like biting my head off. And it's just all that unsettledness coming out, and then it subsides. So usually in the middle of the listening regimen, a music therapist wants to see a personal client that's going through this process, just to make sure that they indeed are feeling good, and to give encouragement that they are on the right track. Keep listening to it. You're about to make a breakthrough. And it's interesting. Everybody's breakthrough is different. This is truly a personalized journey that they go on, that we like to label as the me journey, where it's music exercising emotions. And it is truly a personalized journey.
So where can people find out more about this? Yeah, I know you have some things are going. I've been sampling the forget the label of it, but where you get a text each day with an
Yes.
inspirational quote, and then a sample of a music that would go with that quote. And that's an option. Tell us a little bit about what's available at Music4Life currently.
Yeah, we have a Power Up Your Life collection that has ebooks, and the Power Up 365 that you got. That is a daily text program where 365 different music medicine selections I have made personally are paired with a beautiful image that relates also to the quote that's empowering. So it's possible that you can use it for personal use, or in client sessions where you can share the image, get their response to the quote, and then listening to the music to see how they identify and relate the quote to the music. And so it becomes an interesting session material for the therapist, and it becomes an empowerment tool for self-care for anybody.
So that's the text and the quote, the image, the quote, and the music.
Mm-hmm.
There's also something you've mentioned, ebooks. There's a bigger range of things.
Yes, so we're also going to be gifting your viewers with a sleep performance pack. So the sleep performance pack is how to reduce sleep problems, and it's possible that my own solo violin music that has been used in medical situations can enhance relaxation and promote sleep. So we are going to be gifting your listeners with that. So I'll be sending the code to you so that you can share that with listeners to be able to download it from our website. So our website, for everything that we offer, our trainings, there's certification trainings. There's a music medicine club with continuing education content that I'm constantly publishing with podcasts and blog posts and so on. And all of our testimonials. There's just a lot of information. So the URL is the Music for Life, and that's the number 4, music, the number 4, life.com, the musicforlife.com. Everything is there. And then it'll steer you to other sites that we have integrated to help educate you about what to do, how to help others. So we have several certification levels now too for non-music therapists. So clinicians such as yourself can actually enroll in the music medicine clinical specialist training, as well as music therapists at the practitioner level. And we've even formed a partnership with NAMI, a Southern Nevada chapter, with training peer support specialists that was funded through the Care Coalition of Nevada, through federal funds, actually, to take this music medicine specialist training to facilitate the 6 Habits of Music Medicine curriculum at NAMI's office, which is a 6-week series. So we're just looking at everything that we can create to make it easier for people to understand how music can steer them on the right path, or maybe still on the unsettled path. So it's about do it yourself. We're training others to train others.
Excellent. Excellent. So if you just get centered here for a minute and take a breath and let me ask, is there an aspect of your work that you want to go back and highlight that we've already talked about, or something we haven't even mentioned yet that I haven't even asked you about that you want to put in here before we wrap up?
I had a personal experience last year. I'll never forget. August 16th is the date, where my training as a music therapist really kicked in and helped me to literally save my father from death. And as I reflect on that experience, it makes me so deeply grateful for the training I've had as a music therapist. And for those of you that don't know, you have to at least do a 4-year degree, 6-month internship, pass the national exam, and then in 18 different states, you have to get a license to practice music therapy. But the training involved in being able to do music therapy, particularly in a medical setting, requires that you go in and you immediately do an assessment. It's not written, but you're assessing the room, you're assessing the client or the patient, you're reflecting on what the nursing staff might have just told you before you walked into the room. And then all of your wherewithal to understand what might be best to apply and do with that particular patient is crucial. And so music therapists that work in a medical setting have to be so spontaneous and so well-informed and with a diverse talent to be able to address almost any situation anywhere in the hospital. So I found myself in an ICU unit in less than 24 hours with my father. And he was struggling with breathing. And I decided that I happened to have my violin because I had just done the memorial service for my mother's sister 2 days before. So I had my violin, the speaker, music, all of that with me because I just carry my music therapy tools wherever I go. So I whipped out the violin, and because my father was my violin teacher, my orchestra conductor, everything, I was pretty aware of what he liked. So I started improvising on a couple of the songs, mitigating the music elements so that I was really addressing his struggling with breathing. And I was successful in getting him to relax. I noticed that he wasn't struggling. As soon as I took played the last note, one of the medical team members was there and said, okay, we need to gather around his bed right now because he's about ready to take his last breath. And I was like stunned. I was so in the moment with him that it just didn't occur to me that soothing music maybe wasn't the best thing for him because he had become so relaxed that he no longer was struggling with the enormous amount of mucus that was filling his lungs and his air pathways where he couldn't breathe. And no matter the amount of oxygen they were trying to push into his system. So he had already become cyanotic, severe hypoxia. His tongue was black, purple. And I just remember this voice erupted inside of me, saying to him, I was yelling at him in this ICU unit, no more soothing music for you. We got to do some energizing stuff right now. And I whipped out everything that I needed, pushed play on my iPhone, my portable command center, where I had just the piece on it, and started playing the Bach double violin concerto, first movement. And I'm watching him, and he's kind of still unresponsive. Got done with the first movement. Second movement was soothing, so I skipped it, went into the third movement that was more robust. And it's challenging to get through that. So I'm watching his monitors, him, everything. By the time we got to the end of the piece, he was conducting me.
Wonderful.
Still unresponsive, but his hands were conducting me. And I got to the last note, and he wouldn't stop. I was like, come on, you're going to cut me off, Why do I have to play this note? So then I was joking with him because I couldn't believe he had done that. The whole medical team had arrived by that time, and their mouths were open. They were astonished what they were watching. His skin was already pink. He was breathing. His vitals were coming into more normal range. And I was deeply moved. And the doctor reported to me in writing, it's just scientifically unexplainable what happened. The power of music.
That's right.
And for somebody else, I might have made a different choice, and he might not have lived. So music therapists have a special training that allows us to be present, mindful, aware, and knowing the deepest parts of music to affect positively emotions, behavior, and physiology.
Yeah. And like any other powerful tool, you want to make sure you're using it to good advantage,
Mm-hmm.
because if it's misused, you have a power that's going in a different direction. So,
Mm-hmm.
well, I greatly appreciate your willingness to share that story with us. It's great to learn about this music medical prescription. I'm already excited about. I hope you're on target for your September release. And if somebody wants to support that, are there links to that on your website?
Yeah, they can there is a page on the website, or they can simply go to key2me.com. That's KEY, the number 2, MEE. It's not a typo. It is MEE, 2 E's, .com, and learn more and get updates about where we're at in the process.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for sharing this. And if you get that link to me, we'll make sure that that's available to our listeners. And I'm excited about the app and being able to use it for myself and others.
Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Tim. You will be one of the first I let know when it is ready for beta testing.
I will appreciate that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
For sharing.
Judith Pinkerton's passion for music therapy was ignited in Alaska in 1986 when her solo violin music replaced medication post-surgery in a hospital for her husband. As a music therapy clinician and internship director, author, TEDx speaker, recording artist, online educator, and published researcher, Judith has presented at many national conferences and is the first to receive state-issued music therapy licenses in the United States. With over 30 years' experience helping individuals from womb to tomb, she has treated more than 11,000 patients in residential addiction treatment centers. She's the innovator of the evidence-based practice of the Music4Life Music Medicine Protocol, and she has authored music therapy-informed accredited e-courses, certification trainings, and she recruits and trains specialists to support the Key to Me's approach in 2024. You can learn more at themusic4life.com. That's THE music, the number 4, life.com. And at judithpinkerton.com. Judith is also offering a free gift to listeners of this podcast. If you go to themusic4life.com. That's TheMusic, the number 4, life.com. /product/sleep performance pack gift and use the password GIFT, GIFT.
You've been listening to the On Your Mind podcast, offered by Journey's Dream, where we support people through mental health challenges to a place of true and lasting well-being. If you love our show, we invite you to visit onyourmindpodcast.org to join the conversation, access the show notes, and discover our helpful resources. Thank you for listening.